Hello everyone and welcome to another Friday. And last week I didn't want to actually have two videos together that are so close in topic, but I had such a lovely response to my searching for the perfect oranges video, which you can sort of see what we were doing here, and a lot of requests for yellows, and to be honest, yellow's on my mind as well because it's that time of year. So I thought that this week, let's not worry about whether things are close together or not. It's autumn, you want it, let's do it. It's actually that easy. We don't need to overthink this, I decided. Welcome. If you're new or a returning person, everybody, welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Debbie and I am a mixed media artist. And if you like what you see, please do give me a like and leave a comment. It's considered subscribing. And if you want to see more mixed media stuff, and you'll see some pages from my sketchbook shortly, to give you some idea of what I do. I don't just swatch pencils. You can see a little bit of my style. And if you like that, please consider joining my Patreon. It would be lovely to see you over there. We are a nice group, I think. And actually, before I get on, this week marks my 30th year anniversary as a craft writer and art teacher. And yeah, so it's quite a surprise. I didn't think I would get this far because a lot of people just don't. They start out thinking, yes, I'd love to work from home. I'm going to write for magazines. That's going to be my main income. It just doesn't work that way sometimes. And, you know, it has its own problems and you've got to be quite disciplined, as I'm sure you know. We've all heard before about working from home. But I have managed to make it my career for 30 years and I'm kind of blown away by that. It all started when my dad had a brain tumour and I lived in Australia. My mum and husband and dad and I lived in Australia at the time. And my dad couldn't be left on his own. So I was about the time of life, like early 20s, wanting to sort of make my way in the world and say, well, look, what am I going to do for a job? But we lived remotely in the country and there was absolutely zero care. Nobody helped us. I'm talking about official people here. There was just nothing, no support at all. This was 1996. And it was important that one of us stayed with Dad all the time because I was actually studying medicine at the time and he burnt one of my books one day because he didn't know what he was doing, and it was worth close on $1,000 at the time, as medical books can be. And it was then we realised he could not be left on his own for a second. So we took shifts, and that meant that I realised I can't do what I'm doing. I have to stay here in Mount Gambier. So that meant moving 400 kilometres back home, away from the university. They can't send you sections of humans through the post to study. So basically that was the end of that for a while, at least. I did take up afterwards, but for a while. And I thought, well, look, okay, what can I do? And I thought, well, I've got other things that I'm capable of doing. I can put words together and I'm a fair artist, as in I needed a bit of training up, some edges knocking off, but I could do it. And I'd had some art in school, as a lot of us have. And I sat there next to my dad watching him. He slept most of the time. Funny, he slept the whole time I was there, but if I took my eyes off him, he'd start trying to see if he could make the chainsaw go in the living room, that sort of thing. So I sat there and I painted and I wrote and I put patterns together, and somebody one day said, you know, you should consider seeing if a magazine would be interested. So I did. I wrote off and they bought it. I couldn't believe it. And it went from there. So now I write sewing patterns, I write books. I've just signed a contract with Search Press in England to write another sewing book for them. And I also do art things because my creativity has got so many areas screaming to be let off the leash that I have to satisfy as many of them as I possibly can. So one of my great loves is art, and I love bringing art to you lovely people. So that's kind of my backstory about how the 30 years had started. It wasn't 1996 wasn't the start of it, to be fair. And I mean, those of you who are good at maths will know that that's not 30 years. It started with my dad's first cancer, actually. But, you know, the signs were there and writing on the wall, which I managed to ignore. So from the very beginning of it, it was a little bit further back. But anyway, that is the main gist of what I did and how I got to where I am now. And I'm now a full-time writer. So, yellow. Yellow is a really contentious topic because people either love it or hate it. I love it, but I don't love all of it. I don't love every yellow. As you can see here, I've got a fair few different coloured pencils in this range of colour. And there is a range of colour, right from some that are super, super light to those who are, well, actually this one's even darker. Some of them are quite dark. And again, what I've done here, I'm trying to listen very hard with both ears because a few people have asked me, can I include some polychromos? Because a lot of you have Faber-Castell polychromos pencils. And I do have them. I've got the full range, as you would expect, full set syndrome. I'm starting a support group. If you would like to join, let me know. I've got them and I don't use them very often. I mainly use them for my realistic birds, which is something I just keep for myself because, you know, sometimes we just have that thing that it's just for us, and that's what I do. Sometimes I sit down and I do a realistic bird portrait and I use my polychromos pencils, and I don't have a single one here. I've given them all to my husband, so we'll blame him. I can't grab one for you, but anyway, these are the polychromos pencils, and I've got a few here. They look a little bit like Holbeins. Let me just prove that point. She says, not being able to grab a Holbein. Oh, good grief. Come on. Surely I have a Holbein here somewhere. I absolutely know I do. Okay, they don't look particularly like it, but if you glance very quickly, you've got a gold band and some gold writing. The Holbeins don't have the end cap, which I actually prefer. But I quite often, maybe it's just me. Oh, God. And here's another Holbein with the end cap. So I wonder, is that one a fake? Or just got through the process? Because this one's got its end cap and this one hasn't. How weird. But anyway, maybe it's just me, but when I see those together, I will sometimes look at it and thinking, oh, that's a Holbein. But I don't have very many Holbein pencils. I really don't need another brand of pencil in my world. I've got plenty. So this here, we've got some Derwents. I've got some unusual ones too. I've got a few here. And this is a confession time. I don't have a full set of some of these, so that's going to have to be remedied. I have some Derwents. This is the Derwent drawing one. And as you can see, it gets a bit of love. I've got some Derwent Chroma Flow, which is one of their cheaper ranges. And as you can see, I don't use them very often. I haven't even got around to taking the label off. But what's interesting about these is even though they're cheaper, they are actually, when we found the orange winner last week, it came from this cheaper brand of Derwent Chroma Flow. When I say cheaper, I think these are about €1.90 to €2.10, give or take, wherever you buy them, here in Germany anyway. And the Derwent drawing can be €2.60 to €3, depending on where you find them. And it varies wildly. With Derwent, you're pretty safe, actually. It's a little bit like the Caran d'Ache ones. This is another favourite brand of mine. And my favourite light green, which is a green ochre, is the Caran d'Ache one. This one's new because I've almost eaten my other one, so I thought I'd better get a new one. And yeah, so it was surprising that the winning orange came from a cheaper selection when I've got pencils here that can sell for more than €3 each, and that's your Caran d'Ache. But I don't want to be recommending pencils to say you must buy a Caran d'Ache at €3. You know, sell your kidneys, sell your children, sell the house. Whatever you got to sell, sell it, and buy pencils at €3 each. Because not only is that not going to happen, it's also not practical, and you may not even be able to get them in your area. It just depends. And like I said, I lived remotely in Australia, so I know damn well that it can be hard to get things, even with current sort of online shopping and so forth. Not every area is equally serviced, can I put it that way? So I'm going to show a range of colours, and then I'm going to try and pick more than one winner, as I did here. So we've got 2 Derwents, a Caran d'Ache, and an, I can't read, oh, Polychromos. There was a Polychromos in the mix, because I know a lot of you have one of those pencils. So I'm going to try and pick more than one winner, but there will be an overall winner. Right. Second question you might ask is, why am I doing it on dark paper? This is actually white paper and I've painted on it. And there's a very, very good reason for me doing that. And this is where you get to see in my sketchbooks as well, especially if you're new, and then you'll see what sort of things I do over on my Patreon. I have painted this with a dark gouache because it is absolutely no point, and these words are so important you may consider having them tattooed somewhere. It is absolutely no point testing your pencils on white paper like you see a lot of artists doing swatching. No point at all if you're not going to use them on white paper. Let me explain. You can see here from our oranges that some of them are beautifully pigmented and opaque and sit well on top of this gouache background. I could have got black paper as well, but I paint on gouache a lot of the time. And then I go over the top of the gouache with my coloured pencils. And some of the coloured pencils just don't show up. As you can see here, they're practically, let me just shift this, put that over there, that may fall. So if you hear a crash, it's just that falling. Some of them are practically invisible, but when you look at the colours in the actual pencil, it's bright and vibrant. This one's nearly white, which is not what it was in the pencil. And that's happened a few times across all different sorts. Now, I haven't written down the names here. Basically, I won't be doing that today either. I'm just going to say them. So do stick around to see which pencils you might like and have your pencil at the ready to write them down, because there are just too many to be writing. We'll be here all week. What I'm searching for is an opaque, good pigment pencil that sits on top of a dark substrate. And the reason for that is because I want these to help paint trees with. And I paint my trees quite dark, as most people do, and then I build up to the highlights. So I'm working that way, not like in watercolour where you leave the highlights and you work in reverse. I don't want to do that. I want the paint to start dark. Now I'll show you a few pictures here that I have done. That one's not a great one. There's some night ones. This is on inks, but it sort of gives you an idea. You can see here that I'll start out. So all these dark blobby bits, that's where I've started. Actually, this one's gouache. That's where I've started. And then I build up the coloured pencil on top for various effects. But I really want that coloured pencil to shine and to sit on top of the dark. There's a better picture somewhere here. Here, this one's better. All dark to start with, just blobby dark gouache like this, or you could use watercolour, you could use inks, whatever you like best as a substrate is what you use. But then I want a coloured pencil that I can see a little bit as well. And I've got the greens perfect. The greens so far, and this is a bit of a spoiler in case we ever do a green one. I might do a green one anyway, even though I know the answer, and you do too now, to be fair, because there may be a second better good green. So we might find that. We'll just swatch the rainbow. This one is Caran d'Ache Luminance Green Ochre, and that's this light colour green here. I also love Derwent Light Fast in Forest for the deep areas. And then my beloved, as you can see, Yellow Ochre from Derwent Drawing for these highlights that shine when the sun shines through the trees. You get those highlights. So that's how I work. And this is my green kit. And that's summer. That's summer sorted. This is how I sketch summer trees. But I want to do autumn trees. And I've had a bit of a play here. I ended up doing my summer colours and just putting an autumny sort of background here for the main ground, but I don't want that. I want autumn trees, and we need oranges. Well, we know about orange. The orange is Pimento by Derwent Coloursoft, another one of their cheaper ranges. So that's that one. And yellow ochre works really well with that. Maybe we need to do these pinks next to get burgundy trees, because they happen too. But at the moment, I think that's all I've got in here. Yeah, that's all in that one. There are some examples in this sketchbook as well of how somewhere. Yeah, you can see here the greens. I need a good example to focus on that green. Just let me have a flick. Here's a good one. That started dark, and just make sure it's in shot. But as you can see, it looks like there's light shining through the trees, and that's where we need our yellow to go with the orange that I chose last week, because you need 3 colours. Always look for 3 colours in your sketching. So you've got dark, and that dark is, in this case, is a really rich green, which I mix from 3 colours of gouache. And then you've got the medium value. The medium value for my green is the green ochre, and the light value is Derwent Drawing in yellow ochre. And I want something, I've done that all through summer, that's worked. So I now want something. See, I don't like this. It's just, it didn't do it for me. And it's because the yellow, it's there, but this is all right. But I'm not satisfied. The greens, I love these greens. So the greens work. But anyway, but this is what I do, just so you know. So what I'm trying to do today is let us kick off with the yellows and see which one's first. So that's why I'm doing this on a dark background, so you can see now, because like I said, it is no point doing it on a white background where some of these colours work brilliantly. Let me just grab this one, for example. This one is a Brunzeel design from Holland. Good pencil company. And if I was to do that on here, lovely lot of pigment. Sorry, that was completely off shot. As you can see, really nice colour, really nice amount of pigment. But when I come to do it in actual situ, it's not still on camera there, it's completely invisible. That's my point. You can't see it. And if you put another colour over the top, all you've done really is created a resist. Like I said, it's a nice pencil. I have nothing against Brunzeel, but I need something that's going to work over my dark background. And chances are you do too, so that's why we're here right now. Okay, just going to grab the correct glasses. Sorry about my arm there. I'm at that age where I need to have 20 pairs of glasses. Right, let us pick a brand. Let's start with Derwent Drawing, since we only have one Derwent Drawing. The reason we only have one Derwent Drawing is because there's only one yellow in the range. I would like them to do something about that if they're listening. Okay, already that's great. That's going to be hard to beat, and I did know that. I stacked the cards there a little bit because I knew that was going to be hard to beat. So the Derwent Drawing Yellow Ochre 5720 is worth the purchase. I love it, and it goes particularly well for summer. It helps to transition the trees from summer to autumn as well. And of course in winter it's all academic because they lose their leaves anyway, so we're good. So that's that one. That's a definite winner, and I would put that into the winning pile. Let's have a look at keeping with Derwent. Derwent doesn't have, well, at least, I mean, it's got yellows, but I don't seem to have them. Have to do something about that. I don't have any of the Colour Soft ones this time. That's their slightly cheaper range. It's a burgundy sort of barrel and silver angle on the end here. They've got that in various places. Also, this one's a bit thicker. These are thinner. The Chroma Flow are thinner, hence the cheaper price point as well. So I don't have any Colour Soft yellow, but I will look into that. So, taking one at a time. This one's Golden Sun from Derwent Chroma Flow. It's a bit meh. It kind of changes its colour. It looks a bit slick. That's not doing it for me. So that one's a no. Actually, we'll put them here so that I can do it properly. Sunflower might be better. You know, see, to me, now they're showing their cheapness. They're identical once they're put onto a darker background. Again, were we to, you can see by the colours here in their barrel, and if we were to, let me bring these down here so you can actually see them. There's one and there's the other. They're both extremely different colours, but no, they're not. Not on where, this is actually a real life example. I have a real issue with the way some swatches are done. I don't mean to, I'm not picking on any particular one person, but everybody swatches onto white paper, but that's not going to work if that's not how you're going to use it in real life. So you might have watched people swatching onto white paper and think, oh, that's great, I'm going to go buy that pencil. And fine, yes, it's a great pencil. There's nothing wrong with the pencil. But if you then say, right, now, I always paint on black paper. Well, for start, you've just set yourself up there. Because this is kind of black paper, this card. It's a little bit better. But unless you're going to use it pure onto the black paper, you're not going to get anywhere. And unfortunately with mixed media, you start off with either gouache or watercolour or Japanese Gansai Tambi paints, anything like that. But you've got a substrate to go onto and then you go over the top. That's the point of it. You might be on Ecolina markers, other watercolour markers. There are lots and lots of different substrates. So you must think about the substrate that you use and swatch onto that. Don't swatch onto plain paper unless you work on plain paper. Right, lecture over. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Right, amber gold is the next one. And again, it's almost identical to the other two, even though it is a very different colour. And they're all nice colours in their own right. They're not what I'm after. Dijon, after the mustard. Okay, we've got a bit of difference there. There's a bit of white pigment in that, making it a bit more opaque and a little bit more like the yellow ochre. I think when I rule the world, what I will be doing, one of my first things that I will do is to request Derwent to make a Derwent drawing pencil with a slight little bit more of an acid look, because this is quite chalky. I want something that's got a little bit more pep. So I've identified that as the world's leading issue to be changed, just so you know. This one is mango. It could be an orange actually, but I've put it in with the yellows because it looked, yeah, it could be, it wouldn't work for oranges either because it isn't what we're after. So from the Derwent slightly cheaper range, not really, nothing there actually. The next one, shall we try our polychromos? Actually no, I've got another single one here. And this one is Prismacolor Premier. It's jaune chartreuse. Oh, yellow chartreuse. It could be a green. It could be a yellow, but it's the only one that yellowish that I have. So let's have a look at that. It's not too bad. It's not great. It's not as good as that. It's not too bad. So Prismacolor, I need more Prismacolor pencils, clearly. This is a need now because I'm doing it for the greater good. It's not just for me. Okay, this is Derwent Lightfast. Now, Derwent Lightfast, if I had to say two different sorts of pencils were pretty much interchangeable, it would be Derwent Lightfast and Caran d'Ache Luminance. I work between the two, and I tend to be after a colour, not a pencil. So I'll look at the pencils and I'll say, right, that's this one here. You know, for example, I might say that one or that one. Which pencil? Which colour? I'm not concerned that they're two different brands because you can interchange these two in my experience. It depends on what you're doing, of course. Yellow ochre, Derwent Lightfast. See, that one's great. Again, it sits on the top of this substrate. And it's so similar to this, I can't have both of these as a winner. And yellow ochre is a little bit more yellow. This has gone a bit creamy. So that's a no. This one is sun yellow, and it looks like it's quite a bright light yellow. It actually looks like engine coolant. And a few of them do that. You get a different viewpoint. And so that one's a no. Mustard. Let's try mustard. Looks the same as the engine coolant. So, nope. Banana. Can't go wrong with banana. Except you can because they're all the same. They all look the same when they're swatched out, which means that if you most often work on gouache for your mixed media, then you would be wanting only one of these because they'll look the same at the end of the day. Because we need to pick winners in other colours, let's go with the yellow ochre because it's very similar, but you've got the choice. They're both from Derwent. Right, next we've got Polychromos. Polychromos are a popular brand. They're not terribly expensive. I mean, none of these things are cheap. I used to think that pencils were just children's toys until I realised what I could do with them. Coloured pencils, that is. And I've got a few of these. Some of these have not, that one's never been used. Never. And I've had them 4 or 5 years. Thing is, I reach for Derwent most often and I reach for Caran d'Ache because they perform. These are a little bit harder and they don't always perform. They also don't always have the pigment payoff. So let us see. This one is Naples Yellow, Polychromos Naples Yellow. And you know what? Just to make a liar out of me, that's not terrible. It's certainly not in the nature of some of these here that are just completely wrong. That one's not bad. I'm going to put that in as a definite maybe. Dark Naples ochre. Dark Naples ochre. This one. Very, very similar. So again, you wouldn't want both of those. And I think I prefer this one anyway. But I'm after a lighter colour. This is the thing. I've got pretty specific requirements for the work that I do. And you never know, this might be the work you do. It might be the work you do in the future. Light cadmium yellow. Again, practically invisible. Too hard, not liking the gouache. Light chrome yellow. See, now that's not too bad either. It's very, very similar to the other definite maybe. So we don't need both definite maybes, but we could choose either one of those. Green gold, one of my favourite colours. And brilliant. I love that. It's not exactly the yellow I'm after though, because there's enough green in it to make it not yellow. But I did put it in as a proposal because you just never know. So maybe. This one is dark cadmium yellow. This one looks quite reasonable in the barrel at least. It's neither good nor bad. It's not powerful enough for what I want, but again, it's a definite maybe. Cream. This is probably too chalky and white. It is. That's a no. I'm after something a bit more vibrant. Light yellow glaze. Let's try that one. No, we're back into practically invisible. Some of this invisibility and good pigment is pigment related, as I've said this billions of times. It feels like it anyway. It bears repeating here. Castle Brown from the Caran d'Ache Luminance range. It's chalky and horrible and dry, and it won't layer well, but it's the darkest, richest brown, one of the darkest, richest browns, and you tend to keep it in your kit, even though it's not pleasant. But it's a pigment problem. I thought it was my pencil, so I bought another one and it's exactly the same. So it's definitely a pigment problem, and people will talk about it too. You'll hear about that. That can happen in other colours too. It's just how that pigment is. And this is why these pencils are quite expensive. Some of them are made with natural pigments, which means you get what you get. You don't throw a fit about it. It is the pencil. Either accept it or don't buy that pencil. That's sort of the choice we're left with. Right, cadmium yellow lemon is another engine coolant one. So no, I think the two I've picked out are as close to what I might be after. This leaves us with Caran d'Ache Luminance, which you would think at €3.30 on average. I have no idea what that is in your local currency, but it's not cheap. The pity of it is that humans only have 2 kidneys to sell, but they're good pencils. But let's see how good they are in this setting, because you never know how good a thing is until it's been tested in a specific setting. And that's the thing. This test is for a good layer, a good opaque coverage over a dark background. Right, that one could do with a little sharpen. That sharpener blade's blunt. I shall deal with that. It is Indian yellow, Caran d'Ache Indian yellow. Well, it was worth sharpening because actually that's pretty damn good and goes nicely with that. I'm going to put that in as a definite maybe, or one of the winners. This one is medium cadmium yellow. No, it's no different to that, and I had to work harder to get the colour laid down, so no. This one is raw sienna. It's nice, but it's not vibrant enough. I think I'd prefer to see that in browns and tans, to be fair, and it's probably where it belongs, but it's enough yellowish to count. This one is golden bismuth yellow. That's good. Actually, that's even better. That's better than that one. Although that one's a little bit more vibrant. This is quite nice, so I'd keep both of those. Olive yellow. This one's obviously had a fair bit of use. It looks more like a green, and again, looks the same as the rest of our engine coolant colours. Bismuth yellow. Now wait a minute, what have I done here? Probably bought two. Let me see if I can find the other one. Just short search. I've often bought two of the same, and 3 and 4 actually. Okay, no, I haven't actually. This one's golden bismuth yellow, which is 820. This one is bismuth yellow 810. So they are related but not the same. And again, something about the bismuth yellow that's not too bad, but we don't need all of them. It's okay to have more than one favourite because you can use it to create some variety in your drawings. But, you know, we don't need 11 of the same pencil. And I have been known to do that. I don't actually want to admit to it here, but since we're amongst friends, I will. They're all green ochre. I don't have FOMO, as in fear of missing out. I have what I call FORO. I'm not even sure if that's a thing. Fear of running out. And that's because I grew up in the middle of nowhere. It makes us who we are. This one's lemon yellow. Also Caran d'Ache. Excuse me. No difference. I wouldn't have that in that setting. It'll be great in some other application, but for my landscapes for autumn, it's not happening. Yellow ochre. It doesn't make me excited. There are a little bit of crumbs on some of these. That indicates how hard I'm having to push to get them to make a mark. Raw sienna. Again, this one's probably better and happier in the brown. And I think this one's a raw natural sienna and this one's raw sienna. Oh no, they're both exactly the same. My apologies. They're both 036. We've had it before. Sorry. That's one thing where I've bought two thinking I already had one. So those are the yellows. Now, these are not all of the yellows in the world ever. These are the yellows that I have and that I use and I work with. So my winners are, and I have some runners up here. So out of that lot, we have got 6 winners. We have got the Polychromos Dark Cadmium Yellow, which I think is nice. We have got the Polychromos Naples Yellow, which is also nice in a different way. We have got the Derwent Drawing Yellow Ochre, which, as you can see, straight away, if only they had a more vibrant colour. And we have Indian Yellow in the Caran d'Ache Luminance. We have Yellow Ochre. You would not need both of these, but just in case you were choosing, sometimes some are easier to get, sometimes some are cheaper. That matters. And we have got Golden Bismuth Yellow in Caran d'Ache. Those are the colours that I think best fit what I need. My absolute runaway winner is, without any surprise at all, the Derwent Drawing Yellow Ochre. Like I said, I just want something, you can see this barrel here, I want something more of a golden yellow. But I'm not going to have it. It's as simple as that. I'll have to put up with what I've got. So can you see all of those there? These are the ones here I think have got the best pigment payoff. This one has the most opacity. And the thing is, if we have a look at last week's winner of pimento as the orange, when I put that together with yellow ochre, it sort of works. And I can go over them and create a third shade in between. So for the sort of colour I do with this sort of thing that you've seen in my sketchbooks, these two are really kind of important. I'll have a look and see if I can find any others, i.e. go to the art shop and buy stuff. And, well, I mean, on my 30-year anniversary, I think I should be able to have something. So that's my justification. I will have a look and see, but as it stands at the moment with this ridiculously large collection of yellow pencils, none of these work on these dark substrates. So please do bear in mind before you run off to the craft or art shops, when you watch people swatching, see what sort of work they do, see what sort of work you want to do, and see if it matches up. Because a coloured pencil that costs €3 to €4 is an investment. It's as simple as that. It really is. You're stuck with it for a while if you don't like it. And while some of us go through huge amounts of things, others tend not to. It depends on the volume of your work. But if you've spent all your budget on something that looked great when somebody else did it, but they don't do it on the sort of background that you use, it's not going to work. When we get to the blues and those sorts of parts of the rainbow, and even some greys, I won't swatch onto dark, because if I can just grab that sketchbook again. This one is as good a page as any. Like I said, certain parts of the sketch are dark. So I love these foregrounds that are dark. So that's going to be dark, and I need something that is visible over the top of it. The tree banks are dark. The fields are often dark, but not always. So that's the thing with the sky. The sky is always going to be light. It's the lightest thing apart from these buildings that are in the picture. So the sky is always sketched over some gouache, yes, but onto a white background because the paper's white. If you use a different toned paper, that's, again, whole new ballgame. And I think that the difference here is you've got to swatch everything. So swatching one set of tools into one book and saying, right, I've done that, that doesn't work if you change sketchbooks and has a different paper in it. So technically we need to keep swatching, which is ridiculous. We're not going to do that. We'd waste a lot of paper, we'd waste a lot of pencils. You can use all your products just swatching them on every paper that exists. We're not going to do that. So what we do is we do it generally. So generally, as a general rule, on a dark background, these colours here are best. As a general rule, on a light colour background, you can use others. Like there are some here that I've discarded. That would have been absolutely fine if only I was using them on light coloured backgrounds. So the backgrounds matter. And yeah, so here we've got a medium coloured background. The houses, of course, they're white in this picture. I don't know. Well, this one's a little bit darker. And I haven't... Well, see, sometimes I'll want something to go over a stump, and this is quite a lot sort of darker to begin with. The rocks are darker to begin with. My two very gormless sheep started out a little bit lighter, and then I added some dark in. So I do work both ways, but as a rule, I start with dark colours and then go and build up these highlights. So I think, given the autumn mood, next time we do something like this, I'm definitely going to work through these plums and maybe reds and plums, because they are another autumn colour. So that's kind of on the cards at the moment to see what we can do with that. But in the meantime, those are the yellows and the oranges, and I will link this video at some point to the orange one so that you can have a look at that too and get the whole set. And there's the doorbell, so the dog has just gone off. Excuse me, please. Oh gosh, that was a dash down the stairs. The postman just came and delivered 2 parcels from the art shop. So they've obviously come to the wrong house. I will try and find the correct owner. And yes, I think there's an art haul unboxing coming, so I reckon that will be next week's video. So right, I shall dash off then and let you get on with your day. Thank you so much for staying with me this long and for watching. I do hope this was useful, and also the points I raised about the sort of work you do or want to do in the future and the sort of things you're watching. It is not a one-size-fits-all. Leave me a like. Don't forget to subscribe and a comment. I try to answer every single comment if I possibly can. I love seeing your comments, and like I said, do consider joining my Patreon. You would be very, very welcome indeed. So yeah, we shall see each other next week. Bye for now. Bye.